We exist in a society fixated on action, on doing, on forcing outcomes. But what if the common wisdom about manifestation is entirely backward? What if the act of chasing your desires is precisely what keeps them out of reach? In quantum manifestation, this mindset doesn't just fail, it repels. Quantum reality isn't linear. It doesn't respond to urgency. It responds to coherence. And coherence begins when your inner state mirrors the reality you claim to want. Most people try to attract abundance while vibrating with lack. They visualize love while radiating loneliness. They affirm freedom while embodying fear. That contradiction is what the field responds to, not the words, not the vision board, not the ritual. Here's the unspoken truth. Manifestation doesn't happen because you asked. It happens because you became. In quantum terms, the field, a matrix of infinite potential, isn't moved by effort. It responds to resonance. Your role isn't to push but to attune. To stop chasing and start being. This is where most get stuck. They hear phrases like feel as if it's already done or be in the vibration of having, but it feels fake, distant. Why? They haven't grasped the paradox. The state of allowing is the state that attracts. The observer effect in quantum physics reveals that observation alters reality, but only when infused with expectancy, not desperation. Observe through trust and the wave collapses into form. Observe through fear, and it remains suspended. Mere possibility, never reality. Let's pause. This isn't about blame. It's about realizing how your energy communicates with the universe. Picture tuning a radio. If you're set to 88.1 FM, you'll never hear 98.7, no matter how badly you want it. Quantum manifestation isn't about begging the universe to deliver. It's about attuning to the frequency where your desired life already exists. Ancient wisdom and modern science agree. Neville Goddard spoke of living from the end, embodying the emotions of your fulfilled desire. Joe Dispenza teaches that brain-heart coherence signals creation to the quantum field. Abraham Hicks calls it entering the vortex, the emotional zone where resistance dissolves and receiving begins. Here's the core issue. Simplicity terrifies the ego. We're conditioned to believe value comes through struggle, that transformation requires pain, that progress demands hustle. But in the quantum realm, the opposite is true. The more you chase, the more you affirm absence. The more you force, the more you amplify resistance. That's why this video is titled Quantum Manifestation. It's simple, and why so few grasp it. Simplicity isn't flashy. It's not marketable. But it's where the shift begins. In the next segments, we'll dive deeper. How to rewire your vibrational signature, how the field mirrors your inner state, and how to live as the version of you who attracts effortlessly. But first, sit with this. The life you desire already exists in quantum theory. All possible outcomes coexist. Your only task is to collapse into that reality, not by force, but by frequency. Stop chasing. Start becoming. Not tomorrow, not when conditions align, now. That's when the field responds. Most approach manifestation with a checklist. Visualize daily, repeat affirmations, write goals 10 times. While these practices can help, they often become mechanical, surface-level attempts to change the mirror without changing what it reflects. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to who you are being, and being isn't performance. It's not pretending to feel abundant while panicking over bills. It's not claiming to trust the universe while obsessing over timelines. Being is alignment, a vibrational match between your inner world and the reality you wish to experience. Joe Dispenza explains it this way: your thoughts are electric, your emotions are magnetic. Together, they create an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts your state into the quantum field. That field, holding every potential reality, reorganizes based on the signal you emit. Not what you want, but what you are. Let's break this down. Say you desire financial freedom. If you're constantly anxious, checking your bank account, imagining worst-case scenarios, your electromagnetic signature screams scarcity. And scarcity doesn't attract wealth. It magnetizes more lack. The field isn't judging you. It's simply mirroring your broadcast. Here's the twist. The most powerful way to shift your signal isn't to chase a new future, but to embody it, to feel it now. To practice the frequency of your desired reality until it feels natural, not as a lie, but as a remembrance. Because somewhere in the multiverse, that version of you already exists. When you align with it emotionally and mentally, you collapse that possibility into reality. This isn't wishful thinking. Neuroplasticity proves the brain rewires itself through mental rehearsal. Imagine a future event while summoning the emotions of gratitude, joy, or peace, and your brain builds neural circuits as if it's already happened. Do this consistently, and your body grows familiar with the future before it arrives. And when the body believes, the field responds. Neville Goddard taught this decades ago. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He wasn't urging you to fake it. He meant fuse with it. Let the feeling of your desired reality become more real than your current circumstances. Let it be so familiar your nervous system calibrates to it. Here's what most miss. Manifestation isn't about begging the universe for favors. It's about meeting the version of yourself already living that reality and pulling that version into the now. Not through effort, but resonance. When that resonance stabilizes, the field mirrors it back as experience. There's a shift that occurs when you stop waiting for signs and start being the sign. When you stop watching for synchronicities and start living in sync. That's when reality bends. That's when time collapses. That's when things align not by luck, but by coherence. In quantum mechanics, observation collapses the wave function, turning potential into reality. But not all observation is equal. Observation charged with trust and emotional clarity has far more power than observation tainted by fear or doubt. So, ask yourself, which version of reality am I consistently observing within? When people say act as if, they're not advising you to pretend. They're inviting you to step into the emotional posture of someone who already knows. Someone not waiting for proof, but embodying the evidence before it materializes. This is the foundation of mastering your frequency. And when you do, you don't attract reality. You become the gravity that pulls it in. Now that we understand the quantum field doesn't give you what you want, but rather what you are, we must ask, how do you collapse possibility into form? Quantum physics reveals all potential realities exist in superposition. Your dream job, ideal relationships. Financial breakthrough aren't distant hopes, but present potentials waiting to be selected. Yet they don't materialize simply because you think about them. They manifest when your observation, your focused awareness, causes the wave to collapse. But not just any observation. This isn't passive glancing. The quantum field responds to emotionally charged focus, to observation infused with belief, trust, embodiment, and energetic alignment. When you feel your future as if it's already real, you imprint that version into the unified field. You don't chase it, you stabilize it. And in doing so, the universe responds. Joe Dispenza explains this process requires synchronization between brain and heart. Most live in mental chaos and emotional incoherence. Their thoughts want one thing while their emotions broadcast lack. Their actions scatter, motivated by fear or doubt. In this state, the field can't find a clear frequency to reflect. When brain and heart enter coherence, your signal strengthens. You're no longer sending mixed messages, but broadcasting a unified frequency of trust. Gratitude and certainty, the signature of someone who already is what they once hoped to become. From a neurobiological perspective, when you feel an emotion, your body releases corresponding chemicals. Gratitude produces dopamine and oxytocin. Trust generates serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel good, they shift your entire physiological state. And your state becomes your point of attraction. If you can generate these emotions without external validation, you reclaim your creative power. You're no longer reacting to life, you're informing it. This is how reality begins to shift. Neville Goddard taught that your assumptions harden into facts. What he meant was this: your consistent emotional assumptions create a gravitational pull that restructures your world. The outer becomes a mirror of the inner. This isn't philosophy, it's physics, backed by what we now know about the observer effect, quantum entanglement, and coherence. The observer effect teaches that what you focus on expands and transforms. You're not just watching a future unfold, you're shaping it moment by moment through every thought, emotion, and choice. So how do you maintain this? How do you live as if your desired reality is already here? This is where most falter. They touch the frequency briefly in meditation or journaling, then return to worrying, doubting, and reinforcing their current identity. That's like planting a seed and digging it up daily to check growth. Manifestation requires energetic consistency, not perfection, but returning again and again to the version of you who already has it. Not just in thought, but feeling. Not just in words, but behavior. Walk as if. Breathe as if. Make decisions as if. Because every small alignment compounds. Every moment you choose coherence over fear, presence over distraction, you reinforce the quantum imprint of your new reality. Here's where it gets exciting. Once you stabilize that vibration, reality responds with what many call synchronicities. Unexpected opportunities, intuitive nudges, sudden clarity, perfect timing. This isn't magic. It's the field reorganizing around your signal. You'll know you're close to collapse when you feel it in your bones, not as excitement or impatience, but a certainty. A quiet knowing. A deep sense of inevitability. That's when you stop asking, where is it? And start feeling, it's already mine. At this point, you've moved from wishful thinking to energetic authorship. You've crossed the bridge between possibility and embodiment. From here, something shifts, not just in your outer world, but in your perception of it. You stop needing validation because your frequency is its own evidence. You've collapsed the wave, and the life you once visualized is now visualizing you back. When you begin living from the end, not toward it, everything changes. But let's be honest, this is where most get stuck. Not from lack of belief, but not knowing how to become what they desire. They try thinking their way into a new life without feeling it. They hope for change while embodying old patterns. The field doesn't respond to hope, it responds to energetic certainty. Quantum manifestation isn't about positive thinking until something magically appears. It's about becoming a match to the timeline you're trying to access. That timeline, that version of you already exists, and you're not building it from scratch. You're selecting it by aligning your energy to its frequency. How do you know you're aligning? You stop obsessing over how. You stop chasing validation, signs, or guarantees. You become less reactive to the outer world and more attuned to your inner calibration. Abraham Hicks often says, you can't get there from there, meaning you can't manifest freedom, peace, or fulfillment from urgency, frustration, or lack. You must start acting, choosing, and especially feeling as if you're already there. That's when something mysterious begins. You attract different thoughts, not ones you try to think, but ones belonging to that version of you. Your intuition sharpens. New paths appear. Synchronicities intensify. Reality becomes fluid. Time bends strangely. Life accelerates to meet you. Joe Dispenza explains that when you enter high-frequency emotional states, your brain and heart enter gamma coherence. In this state, your nervous system becomes receptive to new patterns. Your field turns magnetic. Manifestation becomes natural, not from force, but because you've become the portal through which that reality flows. This is why we say, stop chasing, start attracting. It's not about effort, it's about calibration. If you've ever experienced moments where everything clicked, where opportunities appeared effortlessly, where someone voiced your exact thoughts, you felt the quantum field responding to your alignment. Now imagine living in that state by choice. That's what we're doing here. Let's speak directly to your subconscious. There's a reason this message reaches you now. You've likely felt your manifestations take too long, that something's blocking you, that you're doing it wrong. But here's the truth. You've always been closer than you think. The fact you're hearing this proves your field is ready to shift. You're not broken. You're not behind. You do need to chase. You need to stabilize the version of you who no longer chases. The one who knows. The one who walks with quiet certainty and grounded magnetism. That version already exists. Every moment you choose to remember that, you collapse the distance between now and your desire. Let this be the moment you stop trying and start remembering. Let this be the moment you embody the version of you who lives as if it's already done. Let this be the quantum event where you shift from waiting to becoming. There's a quiet truth the quantum field keeps whispering to those willing to listen. There's nothing to wait for. Every version of your life, every timeline, every possibility already exists. You don't create it through force. You tune into it through alignment. And the shift doesn't require years of struggle or complicated techniques. It begins the instant you stop searching for external validation and start embodying the signal within. Consider this. The reality where your manifestations are complete isn't some distant destination. It's vibrationally adjacent. You don't need to leap across dimensions to reach it. You simply need to stop resonating with the reality you're trying to leave behind. This is the essence of what Neville Goddard meant by assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's not about wishful thinking. It's the sacred science of self-selection. You're not asking life to change. You're declaring, this is who I am now. And the field, in its perfect obedience to coherence, has no choice but to reflect that back. But here's what most miss. You can't fake this. You can't chant affirmations from a place of lack. You can't meditate your way into a new reality while mentally clinging to the old one. The quantum field sees straight through surface level rituals. It only responds to the vibration beneath your thoughts. And that's exactly where your true power resides. So how do you live from this power? Through practice coherence. Through choosing alignment again and again, not as a one-time event, but as a devoted way of being. You begin speaking differently, moving differently, treating yourself and others as the person you're becoming. And soon you're not acting anymore, you're living it. This is the unspoken quantum code behind manifestation. It's not hidden because it's complex. It's overlooked because it's simple. Too simple for minds addicted to complexity. Too effortless for a world obsessed with struggle. But that simplicity is your secret weapon. The more you release the need to make it happen, the more reality begins to reorganize itself around you. Learn to trust this. Stop waiting for fireworks and grand gestures. The most profound manifestations often arrive in ordinary moments. A sudden stillness in your chest, a breath that comes easier, a quiet knowing in your bones. The universe delivers its gifts softly to those who've stopped straining to hear them. So I'll leave you with this. What if the change you've been waiting for isn't coming to you, but through you? What if your next timeline isn't something you reach for, but something you remember? The moment you stop chasing and start resonating, that's when the magic begins. Not because the universe has finally noticed you, but because you've finally become what you were calling in all along.